Hey everybody, another player character and an interesting NPC race on the Mighty Glue Stick today. As always, you're listening to AJ. How's it going? So during the video on the Druid character class, I mentioned that I was inspired to cover the playable race presented as an option in Volo's Guide to Monsters, the Firbolg. So today, let's talk about them and their ecology and their culture, also their rich history in the Forgotten Realms, and hold on to your dice bag because we're going to dive into a deep ocean of D&D lore and fish up a lot of ancient history and mythology of the world of Toril. Giants. Firbolg are giant kin, so basically their ancestry stems back to the same mother as the race of true giants, but they had a different father, and their sibling races who share that father are the Firbolgs, who look like very similar to humans but much larger and meaner. The Vodkin, who are elven-looking giants who live in the forests. They're often known as forest giants. Interesting footnote is that they dispute their ancestry and firmly believe they are the true children of D&amp Allfather, are thus true giants, and they resent their low place in the ordering of true giant civilization, so they reject it and giant society and make the forests of the world a little hazardous for true giants, as the Vodkin claim all forests as their territory. This is one reason why their little relatives, the Firbolg, make their homes there under this sort of protective umbrella, and also the Firbolg would be diplomatically wise to never claim kinship with the Vodkin, but instead might refer to one as cousin and avoid the whole issue of who the Vodkin are descended from. Firbolg are also related to the Fomorians, those twisted fey giants who were once the greatest of the giant kin, beautiful and powerful. They were cursed into the twisted, hideous monsters they are today by the powers of the Feywild for their arrogant crimes and attempted tyranny over all Fey power. The Firbolg wisely steer clear of the Fomorians whenever possible. In fact, they try to avoid all giants as best they can, living in self-imposed exile, if you will. And there's a good reason for this, and we should get into that shortly. So let's talk about the origin of the Firbolg and giants in general, a short version. D&amp Allfather came to the realm of Toril early on, so he came sort of extraterrestrially or extraplanetally came and discovered the place. He had already fathered some immortal offspring sometime before. These are the Titan giants of the giant Pantheon. All of them are male, due to D&amp using magic to ensure their gender, so that they'd not include doesn't include his daughter Hiatea, who is worshipped by the Vodkin and the Firbolg, but more on her in a moment. She's kind of important. According to legend, perhaps in the Age of Thunder, during the reign of one of the other creator races, he encountered Hiatea, who at the time took the form of a mountain on the edge of the Coldlands. And the far north of Faerun has always been the seat of giant civilization, then as it is now. It should be noted that humans, dwarves, and elves did not even exist yet when Hiatea gave birth to the progeny of D&amp. Also, I'm surmising that she is not a titan or a god of the astral sea. Hiatea was a primordial entity with quite a lot of primal power. His titan sons include the patrons of the true giants, Grolanthor, Lelanus, Memnor, Scorius Stonebones, Stronmaus, Surtur, and Thrym. These are not the children of Hiatea. They are not the fathers of the giant races. It is likely that D&amp side each of them with a different deity level entities, but it's all speculation. Nothing is known of D&amp before he came to Toril. So these demigod titans are not to be confused with the progenitors of the giant races. They are immortal titans, highest ranked in the ordering under D&amp himself. They're gods, basically demigods. Also, yes, there's at least 3 different groups of giant humanoids that are called titans. It's confusing. I'm not going to talk about the titans of Olympus, except to mention them. Okay, next is the progenitors. Dunmore, father of the Vodkin, D&amp believed he was the one of his sons, but it turns out he wasn't, though. So the Vodkin are questionable. Arno and Julian, 2 heads of the father of the Ettins. Lanaxus, immortal sire of the lesser Titan race who now resides in the plain of Arborea. Masud, father of all fire giants. Nikias, father of all cloud giants. Obadiah, father of all stone giants. Otar, father of all frost giants. Rook, father of all hill giants. And Vilmos, father of all storm giants. Hiatea also had another child, Tvaprak, and thus ogres are also half-sibling giant kin relatives to Firbolg, though the only ones who are at all happy about this are the ogres themselves. Firbolg, Vodkin and Fomorian are all the sons of Ulutiu, a god of the north, who slept in a realm in the astral sea and presided over the polar environment in a sort of lawful, neutral, egalitarian way. Ulutiu's magical amulet of cold is what is responsible for the North Sea basically becoming a permanent glacier. So, because of these affairs of Othea, and they can coincide with historic events, we can put a date on when the Firbolg race began. It was near the end of the war between the dragons and the giants, around minus 25,500 DR, so 25,000 years ago, or more. Othea had an affair with Ulutiu after the affair with Vatbrak, and Anam was none the wiser for a long time, not until about minus 2,550 DR. At that point, to save his children from the wrath of Anam, Ulutiu sacrificed himself, and his corpse was placed on a barge that floated out into the cold ocean and sank. Then, over the next 75 years, his magical amulet froze the water, creating the endless ice sea and the Great Glacier, and coincidentally, the end of the Empire of Astoria, the Empire of the Giants, was kind of, I don't know whether he planned that, but that was the effect. So the children of Anam got kind of doomed by it. Meanwhile, his divine essence departed Toril and returned to the realm of the astral sea, where he slumbers and may never actually wake up. So he had an immortal presence on the material plane, and he sacrificed that and returned to the astral sea. With me so far? Okay, good. Let's talk about Hiatea, the only daughter of Anam and the goddess of the Firbolg. Somewhat ironically, Anam was unfaithful to Othea as well, and unknown to him, his affair with either a sky goddess or perhaps a mortal giantess resulted in a pregnancy, a daughter. Knowing that Anam would use his magic to transform the child into a male if he knew of her existence, she was birthed in secret and hidden in a colony of Firbolg, where she grew into a tanned, lithe giantess larger than any other Firbolg. Legend tells that strong mouths teasing her revealed that her true father was actually Anam, but it was more likely that when she came of age and was clearly not a Firbolg, a messenger was sent to her from her mother's deathbed to tell Hiatea of her true parentage. Hiatea's true nature blossomed, and she became a mighty hunter, taking on ever greater foes until finally she had an epic battle with a great monster, like legendary battle, either a 50-headed hydra or a Tarrasque. And imagine if it was the mate of the last breeding pair of them. That would be pretty cool. Clad only in her feathered leather armor and armed with a magical flaming spear, which is also her holy symbol. This caught Anam's attention, and he formally acknowledged that yes, she was she was his true daughter and a divine titan in the ordning. So that catapulted her to demigod status. These days, Hiatea lives in Woodhaven on the wild, rugged layer of Eronia on the plain of Elysium. She's beloved patron of many female giants, and all Vodkin and Firbolg worship her to some extent. She also gets along well with several of the elven deities. We shall talk about how she is worshipped by her clergy at the end of this video. So, if all you knew of the Firbolg was what you read in Volo's guide, you might think that they've always been a shy, reclusive bunch of tree huggers. But you would be wrong. They have a lot of blood on their hands, a lot of giant blood. And you see, Anam had one more child to Othea, but she did not give birth to him until Anam had left Toril, swearing never to return until his child called for him. When Othea was killed by one of her own children, she was in the form of a mountain, and Anam's last progeny that she'd carried inside her broke free of the womb cave and wandered the frozen north and ate a whole deer for his first meal. So he became known as Heart Killer, heart as in deer. To cut a long legend short, he took on the task of restoring the giant empire of Astoria as he was prophesied to do. But because he was only 12 feet tall, he got zero respect from the true giants who actually worked against him, even though he was a demigod and true child of Anam. So gathering allies in the giant kin, he went to war with them, the giants, and in the era known as the War of the Heart, at the end of which killed along with the paramount. But not before siring a half-human son named Brun, and establishing a kingdom of Heartsvale, which still thrives in the ice spires in the far north of Faerun, west of the high ice of Anarok and south of the endless ice sea. So, the Firbolg went to war against the true giants alongside their human allies, and they have long had a relationship with humans, as Heartkiller cleared Heartsvale of giants to ensure it was suitable for humans to thrive there. This is what sparked the conflict that eventually led to his death, and after the war, a purple misty apparition, actually Othea and Anam's immortal child Lanaxus, progenitor of the Titan race, visited the giants, appearing once a year in Twilight Vale. This Twilight Spirit warned them that they were rejecting Anam Allfather's will by refusing to comply with Heartkiller, that the humans in Heartsvale survived as a punishment to the giants, and that Anam was destined to return with a new king emerging from Heartsvale to restore the kingdom of Astoria. So he was establishing a prophecy. Was this believed by the giants? Not by all, sure, but the humans that were still living in Heartsvale to this day, and the half-giant bloodline that traces directly to Anam, makes up the ruling family of this kingdom, and as a result of this heritage, the royal family of Heartsvale are striking figures. The priestess Queen Brianna Burden, who ruled in 1366 DR, was 7 feet tall and strong as any man, but drop-dead gorgeous. She gave birth to a child who, due to the complexities of plot, was both the son of the progenitor of all Edens and the son of a Firbolg hero, Tavis Burden. It's a complicated story, so let me break it down to its basic elements. Lanaxus orchestrated a series of events and inspired a prophecy that the Giant Kin took very seriously. He then arranged for Brianna to get pregnant by 2 different fathers. Thus, for her child, it united 3 different giant bloodlines, Anam, Firbolg, and Etten. Her pregnancy lasted for 3 years, and both her and her son Caedlor, by the way, Firbolg pregnancies generally last for 2 years, her son Caedlor, which is Firbolg language for handsome, were kidnapped, ripped away along with an entire tower of Wind Keep, and taken to Twilight Vale. There, Lanaxus planned to raise his nephew to be a ruler of the new Astoria, fulfilling the prophecy he created and told the giants in his guise as the Twilight Spirit. Yeah, villain plot, right? Meanwhile, Tavis and the Firbolg hero, in epic D&D fashion, retrieved the axe of Anam Allfather called Skycleaver. This 8-foot-long obsidian-bladed hand axe deserves a video of its own. Needless to say, it was an artifact-level weapon, and it did the trick. Tavis sort of defeated Lanaxus by curing him of his madness and revealing his lies, and finally sending him straight to Anam for a bloody good telling off. It was an incredible battle. You can read all about it in The Titan of Twilight by Troy Danning, Book 3 of his The Twilight Giants trilogy. Good read. So, Firbolg are very much a vital part of the human and giant kingdom of Heartsvale. They no doubt are, as of 1491 DR, and while they cleave close to the nature and worship of Hiatea, they have a lot in common with the humans who also live there. Their cultures have been intertwined for hundreds of years, their bloodlines mixed into the royal family. So to play a Firbolg from that background would be quite different from playing a reclusive forest Firbolg from the warmer southern reaches of Faerun, or from another continent altogether. They've spread pretty widely. Firbolg are large, standing at least 7 or 8 feet tall, 240 to 300 pounds or more. Some mentioned in stories have been 12 feet tall and over 800 pounds, so 5th edition has used a bit of a creative license there. They have a giant strength and count as a size category larger when determining their carrying, lifting and dragging capacity. They also add +1 to their strength attribute on top of this. They are not overly fast, move at 30 feet per round for their size. They are stealthy by nature and also have innate magical powers. They are very much in tune with their surroundings, very observant. They get a bonus of +2 to their wisdom attribute, and wisdom is how they determine their spellcasting ability. Their powers allow them to turn invisible for 1 round or until it's broken, once between any short or long rest. They also detect magic as the spell once between rests, or disguise themselves as per the spell, and they can use it to appear up to 3 feet shorter as well. And this is a common theme in their stories, is that they generally go around of a shorter stature when they're with shorter races. They have extraordinary empathy for plants and animals and can talk in such a way that animals, even plants, can understand what they're saying in some small way, but the Firbolg have no ability to understand what plants or animals say back or to each other. So at best, it's a persuasive tool that they can use when dealing with living creatures of the natural world. It is also dynamite role-playing fodder. I've got to say that this can be used in so many ways. I literally can't even. Firbolgs gravitate towards fighter, ranger, or druid, and they protect their home, whatever it is, from being disrupted and despoiled by nature. They see other creatures as having just as much a right to the world and its resources as they have, and refuse to take more than their share, even going without in the harsh winter months so that other creatures can also survive. This is very much in tune with their father. This was an element of his nature, Hiatea, that he was very egalitarian, and the Fomorians are very much an opposite of that. They believe that everything was theirs, and the Firbolg have an attitude that everything is everybody's, so they steal everything, not recognizing ownership, which is quite interesting. For the Vodkin, they take no... They reject the authority of giants, so they believe in anarchy or the right of merit, and they don't believe in the ordning. Firbolg rejected the ordning long ago, and instead follow the religion of Hiatea and the system called the Code. It promotes the idea that society is the most important aspect and supersedes the individual. This means the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one. If the code is breached, a Firbolg might be enslaved or banished, which Volo's guide mentions, but not really why it happens. Because of the code, which a Firbolg normally carries in the form of a written booklet or in other ways, depending on their tribe, Firbolgs treat all intelligent creatures as equals and do not have the same superior attitude that other giants and giant can display. This is very important for role-playing, and I'm quite surprised that they didn't mention this. Firbolgs determine decisions of the tribe using the cast. This involves summoning all the Firbolgs in a tribe who then cast their vote on an issue by using a rune-engraved stone. They are very upfront and honest people and hate to lie. Even an evil Firbolg would prefer to tell the truth, just in a far more blunt and vicious manner, but they still tell the truth. Firbolgs live in settlements in remote hilly or forested areas and distrust any outsiders until they get to know them. They build wooden structures with thatched roofs, with defensive towers, and are always wary of any true giants in the area. There's a lot of bad blood between them. They tend to get along well with the woodland elves and dwarves. Anyone who is a friend to the land is basically okay with a Firbolg, and they are far more gregarious with those they know and trust. Although depicted often with a bluish tinted skin and a rosy pink nose, and you'll see that all through the artwork, they usually have tan skin and are more distinguished by their large ears and prodigious red hair, including beards on males that dwarves heartily respect. The Abeir-Toril, meaning Holy Brother in Jorphdan, is a Firbolg clan notable for tattooing the code on their chests using red dye. The Abeir-Toril, meaning Cloak Brother in Jorphdan, is a Firbolg clan notable for wearing amulets containing the code written in fine parchment. The Kriegabor, meaning Warrior Brother in Jorphdan, is a Firbolg clan notable for wearing engraved characters on which the code is written. So, quite interesting. Cultural differences. Keep in mind that although they seem on the surface to be tree-hugger giant hippies and a soft touch, they have a long and often very violent history, and martial training is a large part of their culture. They are honourable warriors who are ready to go to war if the cause is just, or to keep ancient promises and oaths. They follow a moral code, and although they are good-natured, they won't hesitate to use lethal force when required. Firbolgs count some of the great heroes of Toril in their number. They just happen to like living a peaceful life in the forest given a choice. The religion of Hiatea for Firbolg is pretty central to their lives, and I'm just going to quote directly the Forgotten Realms wiki on it because it's pretty clear and to the point. Hiatea teaches that nature is both creator and destroyer, and that admitting defeat is the worst shame a giant can bear. Still, some prices are too high to pay even for victory, for Hiatea is a goddess with tendencies towards good. So, indomitable will is a part of their culture. Hiatea's priests typically have one or two roles, although the boundary between the two can occasionally be fuzzy. They are the community priests, or the priests of the steadings, who tend to agriculture and the raising, protection and education of children. There are also the protector or sentinel priests who could patrol forests, woodlands, and keep an eye on other races. So this is kind of mentioned in Volo's guide that this is what they do. The Vodkin protector priests go out of their way to maintain relations with other races, and the wood elves in particular. Among the Firbolg, female clerics may be somewhat more numerous than male ones, although males and females are considered of equal merit in all of Hiatea's sects. The highest priests of Hiatea belong to no community. They visit the giant settings only to issue orders to the priests of the community, so they have their own order. Hiatea communicates frequently with her priests and shamans, sending omens in the form of a distinctive shape in the fire, or in a flaming spear within dying embers, and her community priests may see omens in the dreams of children. They talk with children quite often as they teach them. She may also send omens in the form of gigantic 2-foot wingspan golden yellow moths that will spiral around flames, and her priests perceive messages in the path of its flight. Those who capture the moth alive are able to turn invisible in the woodlands for days at a time. That spell-like ability of theirs basically has no duration limit in that case. All of Hiatea's clerics may be capable of surviving or hunting, must be capable of surviving and hunting in the wilderness. It's one of her requirements. Those who lose this ability due to age, injury, or other ailments must retire from active priesthood. Hiatea's favourite weapon is the spear, and that's also her holy symbol. Once a month or so, the community priests accompany the sentinel priests and the faithful on a ceremonial hunt once a year, usually during the spring, and they select a particularly challenging creature to kill. This is typically some sort of aberrant threat, or a dire creature which has gone mad or some such. Making a family decision without consulting a community priest of Hiatea is considered a minor sin by the faithful. Okay, that's about it for the Firbolg. Hope you get to enjoy using them in your game. They're very interesting characters, lots of room for fun and exciting roleplay. Certainly a lot of rich history to draw on there, and a great set of traits that can be very entertaining, particularly for a clever, crafty player who uses those ability well. I will be back with another probably monster ecology video, maybe an explorers video. If you want to see a good video on Carceri and Pandemonium, go and check out Jordan's channel. I'll put a link in the description down below. If you are keen to see any of the other playable races in Volo's Guide to Monsters, give me a vote down below, or as always, suggestions for monsters that you want to see. I'll add them to the list, which is prodigiously huge at this stage, so I'm getting around to them. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'll catch you again soon.